Hey kids, welcome to the Capital Life Podcast. I am your host, Abby Pagud. This is where we talk about all the things that life brings, the good, the bad, and of course, the healthy. And today we have another episode of Keeping It Real with Real People with my very awesome friend, Miss Karla Lang, who is just going to rock it out of the park because she's like me and awesome and like cheery and hilarious. And I love her and you will love her. So welcome to the Capital Life, Miss Karla.
Oh my God, I hope they love me. That's
Of course I love you. You're fantastic. I didn't even know I was going to love you as much as I do love you.
I have that effect on people sometimes.
I call myself like an infectious disease. Eventually I infiltrate the whole system and spread like wildfire.
Yes. Okay, here we are, right after in the middle kind of sort of holidays.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Which is like, it's just a whirlwind. Like there's so much that goes on energetically, on top of just intuitively, on top of just the transition your body's going through. It's like purging through leftover shit from the previous year, but then like merging into the next phase. And then there's just, and then on top of it, if you're fortunate enough to really like your family and deal with your family, then you're fine. But even then, even the people you love and adore the most, 20, like 30 people in one room eventually tires you out and then you need a break.
Except for if you're an extrovert.
Correct. That is very true.
Right, because I'm an extrovert and I have my paternal extended family are mostly extroverts, except for the in-laws. They're all not as extroverted. And sometimes it get a little wild, and I always have such a fun time because it gets a little wild.
I have a blast in the moment, but then I'm a hermit. Like I have to regenerate or I don't function. And so like, even though like extroverts, you know, like they usually are they feed off of the energy. It revitalizes them. Like I will feed off the energy I'm around. But then as soon as I'm disconnected from that energy, my body has to completely regroup and because I shut down and I have to like hide away. This episode of The Capital Life is brought to you by Alpha Sports Performance Medicine. At Alpha Sports, they combine expert providers with innovative treatment options to give you the highest quality of musculoskeletal care. Through chiropractic adjustments, dry needling, sports massage, and a recovery lounge of sorts. When your inner athlete is striving to the next level, provide it with Alpha Self-Care. Visit alphasports.org to learn more. Quick question. Is your body cooperating with you today or fighting you a little? That's what I thought. In that case, you might want to check out Focus Programs at capitalhealth.com. These programs are designed around specific needs from low back pain and shoulder tension to mobility, stretching, and even strength support. We even made programs for different life stages and goals, including pregnancy, post-pregnancy, targeted toning, and way more. Right now, there are over 20 Focus programs available. And if you use the code TheCapitalLife at checkout, you'll get $15 off any program you choose. Come explore for more at capitalhealth.com. Please like, share, and rate us on whatever platform you're listening. It's how we start to really spread the message of good in the world that needs it so much right now. If you find this helpful or insightful, don't forget to connect with us on Facebook and YouTube at Capital Health. That's KAPITOL Health. Also, visit us at capitalhealth.com and subscribe to our newsletter and get wicked awesome updates.
Yeah, it depends if you take the energy on. There's lots of times where I'm like, okay, that's it, Karla time. There's nothing else coming in here. And I hibernate for a little bit of time for sure. It's not necessarily rejuvenate. It's more to just, I think, neutralize might be the word, right? Just to like get into this space of, okay, I did all this stuff and I talked to all these people and I got all this energy and it feels really good. And now I just need to like chill.
Mellow out.
Yeah, mellow, get neutral so I can sink into the next. I
feel like sometimes too, it's like, okay, it's no different than when you are around other people and you start to absorb their energy, and then it like kind of blends in with yours, and then you get kind of disconnected from your own grounding source. And like, it like I always call it, like you have the family effect, right? Like where everyone has their dynamic roles to which they play, right? And you can see like you haven't seen a sister or a brother in like 20 years, but then as soon as you're around them, you like your children don't even recognize you because you go back to that owed personality, and then you get back into that old role that you used to play, unless you've done a lot of work to rid yourself of it, where most people don't actually realize it until their family members, like meaning their wife, their kids, point out, hey, you change when you're around your family. You're a different person. And unless someone actually pays attention on why that is, like what roles we're still playing with, which ones can we actually let go of? Like which battles or what stories no longer serve us anymore, to which we can rid ourselves of it. And a lot of people like struggle with that awareness. It's almost like they go into a defense mechanism, as if like just being aware of that issue, all of a sudden it's like they immediately respond in a defensive way of, oh no, that's not true, or I'm not like that, instead of just being mindfully aware of, yeah, I totally do that. Why is that? Do you notice that happen? Like, why do you think the struggle is so hard for people to admit or acknowledge? Because awareness around.
Like, I'm all about conscious relationships, right? That's my shtick.
That's your shtick. That is your that is your bread and butter. That is your cream of the crop. That is your ruler aspect. Queen.
Love it.
Queen
conscious relationships. Okay. So most of the time we're just unconscious. Most of the time we're just operating on automatic zone, on the to-do list, on this has to get done, this happens, and this person shows up in my life. We rarely take the time to stop and reflect on who do I want to be in the world, and who do I want to be, or who am I with this person?
Mm-hmm.
And then who is that person with me? Part of us are really attracted to very authentic people, right? Like if you find a very authentic person that is fully real, there's no masks, they're totally out there, you just sink in and you're with them. And the reason why is because they are conscious, right? Like I recognize that this is happening with me. I'm going to show it to you. I'm not going to hide it. I'm not going to play a different role around it. I'm not going to put a mask around it. I'm just going to be me. And if that means right now and what we're talking about, I get a little teary, I'm going to get a little teary.
That's fine. I like it when you get teary, because then the fun shit starts to happen.
And if I get a little effing passionate and want to, give people that, think about like this thing, then I'm going to do that, right? This is just like, this is me. And it's, people talk about unapologetically me. It's a different than like, F you, I'm going to be me no matter what. Blah, blah,
there's
blah.
like a rebelliousness. And that comes, I think that is getting misconstrued a lot in society right now. Is like, it was, a lot of it started with the body shaming movement, right? When it was, okay, you weren't fitting to a certain size or shape. So then it was like, I love my curves. I embrace my body, which absolutely you should. One of my favorite lines from an intuitive I follow, Lee Harris, he actually said, your body is exactly what it needs to be in this life experience. And I love the way that he said that, because it gave you permission to be as you were. With the body changes, the fluctuations of care and different things like that. But there, like, I've noticed that what you're talking about, that time period to which, like a lot of that rebellious of fuck you, this is who I am, don't like tell me what I know or who I am or any of that. It was like that to me, it came from a defensive place. It came from needing protection of something that happened in your younger years, because now is like you didn't have the voice then. Now you're finding the voice now to defend yourself and protect yourself. But at the same time, it was like, okay, what's the vibration that's being done? One, just you embracing who you are and being your authentic self versus the fuck yous, this is who I am, take it or leave it. There's a totally different frequency in both of those deliveries. One is more calm waters and like, what's up, dude? Like, and the other one is the see me roar type. Like, I don't even have the words for it, but you're so right, because there's so many people that are twisting authenticity and putting it into more of a forceful demand. Mm-hmm. And then it creates this massive battle. And to me personally, I think it's an avoidance of the work that you have to do. It's a distractionary action preventing you from actually doing the healing that caused that in the first place.
100%. It is distractionary. It's just another mask.
Yeah.
Right. It's just I'm the badass mask, right? Or you can't get at me mask. One of the tests you have if you're coming at a really authentic person is they aren't going to get rattled by you. Right? So, bring it on.
Yeah, that was really, I love that. I would love the way you said that, rattled by you.
Right? Because I am so solid in who I am and what I'm about. I've removed all of those masks. Sometimes they pop up in little things, but I can take a look at it right away.
Right.
And I'm so solid in that. Bring it on. Pull your stunts. Try this on me. I'm not going to get faltered by it. I'm not even going to get triggered by it. And
which is part of emotional mastery that a lot of us really don't have. Right. Because we haven't been able or given ourselves permission to even deal with those emotions.
Right. I mean, I might get triggered, right? But then I'm going to catch it. That's the conscious. Right. There's so many of us walking around just getting trigger. We just trigger. And so we're just constant, like no one is ever actually being fully in who they are as their whole person and their whole beingness. And with the consciousness of, if I'm off that a little bit, i.e., triggered a little bit or upset a little bit, or, feeling like rattled, I guess is the word, then I'm not actually being wholly me. Wholly as in WHOL, I can't spell, Y, and holy HOLY, right? Like both holies.
Spelling right before New Year's, that is a challenge.
I can't spell anyway. So
I can't either. I'm making my own words. I make up words for a living, so like I don't have to learn how to spell like ever.
Anyway, I'm not even, so then that's the goal. You want to be so full. And then what happens is, if I'm solid in me, I can just accept you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I can be conscious that you might be coming at me triggered. And I can be conscious enough knowing that you might be talking to me right now with your own stuff, and your own stuff doesn't have to be my stuff. And that's the difference of taking on someone else's energy and staying in your own energy. You just let them have their energy. You let them have what they're at and what they're about, and that does not have to impact you at all. It's just them, right? It's like having this pure acceptance of who they are and what they're bringing. Not that I have to hang out with you or, engage with you. I can decide what type of relationship, giving what you're presenting to me. I can decide what kind of relationship I want with you.
The involvement level of if you even want to deal with them when something's going on, especially like one of my favorite, the word, how they brought out Karens of the world, right? And like, here's Karen, I always say, well, the Karens of the world didn't wake up thinking, I can't wait to have a breakdown in the middle of a Target. Like that wasn't the original goal. Like something triggered them. And I said, and I've told people for years, like, what if we actually went up to the Karen and instead of combating them, instead of correcting their behavior, just ask them, what are you needing? What are you needing right now? Like, and what can we do to help you get Because like we can see that you're upset. We may not understand the level to which you're upset. I'm sorry you've been wronged in some way, shape, or form, but what are you needing that we can help get you out of this feeling? But like most people, they go straight into the defense mechanism or they start attacking the Karen instead of trying to help. And sometimes it's as simple as witnessing them in their emotions and in their triggers and basically making a decision, is this my place to help or should I just, is this not for me? And that's where you watch people and you have half of them that just kind of, oh God, okay, they're having a meltdown. And then they just kind of phase out and they walk away. And then you have some that jump in, some to help and some to make it worse. Like, and you're like, oh, and what trigger against trigger, ding, 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 ding.
And let's record it.
Yes. Oh, let me forget to not stay in the moment and pull out my phone so that I have it for later terms.
And then we can have everyone triggered all around the internet around it. Yeah.
But if we actually took the time to kind of unravel those specific instances that happen, I think a lot of us would be so much better off because it is the awareness that is the first stepping stone of being able to even, just to even be aware, like, oh, okay, that was a different feeling. I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
Or, oh, I don't like the way this makes me feel, but today is not the day to deal with it. And then just leave it be. Like there are certain times where we all have to kind of be able to have some shred of awareness, but there are some people out there that don't have any awareness. What do we do with those people? What do you like to do with them? Because you're the one that likes to Mesta. What goes on in your brain?
Well, so people with zero self-awareness tend to blame everyone else for their condition. Right? So if I have zero self-awareness that none of this is because of me, then it all has to be because of the outside. Mm-hmm. Right? And if it's all happening because of the outside of me, then I have basically given away all my power of control to the outside, which if you think about it, if all of your power and control is given to the outside, you must feel extremely helpless and inadequate and an inability to handle what's happening because you have no internal locus of control, right?
Which the funny thing is that was coming to me as you were connecting the dots on that is that a lot of the time the people that are feeling that way or that don't have that self-awareness and having surrendered control, and then their primary issue and fear is not having control.
Correct.
Which is like the double-edged sword to the other's ugly side of it.
Because they don't have control. And so then they try to control the outside to have some sense of control. So if I control you, then I have some sort of sense about that, right? And so what I like to do is take a look at, okay, how are you giving your power away? Right? How are you giving your power? Well, you're mad at this person. So does that person who are you hurting when you're angry at that person all the time? That person's going on and living their life, right? You are the one holding on to that anger and letting that fester and having it obsessively
causing ripple effects around you.
Right? And so you just have to start to take your power back. Right? And the first one is you start to be aware, where do I let my power go? Where do I make it your issue, not my issue? Because literally the only thing that we have any control over is how we show up in the world and our thoughts. Mm-hmm. And we have control over our emotions. So we have control of our own self. That's the only thing, right? But if you've now given that away to everybody else, you're just like in free for all.
Right.
Which is very unsettling and it's also very scary.
Do you think that sometimes the reason that some people will do that is so that they can avoid having be responsible and accountable for their own shit?
Yeah.
Is that a defense mechanism of like, I don't know if it's a defense mechanism or if it's just like not wanting to have to be accountable.
Well, yes, because if I'm accountable for doing something, that I have to maybe make a change, right?
Okay. So it's
And
the fear of the change that would ensue, or it can be.
maybe, or one of the defense mechanisms also is to just hide,
Hmm.
right? To just cover yourself up and hide, or get irrelevant so nothing is about you, so you don't have to take a look at that. Because, you know, see, I think one of the biggest fears that's underneath in the human condition is, if you really got to know me, if I really got to know me, if I really took a look at this, it would be disgusting. It would be so bad. There's this level of shame, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's this shame, right? And it's absolutely, unequivocally false. Who we are as human beings on this planet is a direct expression of God, of
Yeah.
source, of
Right.
divine. And there is zero shame in that,
Right.
right? But we have been conditioned through all kinds of means, through societal means, through religious means, through family of origin means, through school system means, through friends, that there is something inherently bad about us, right? And with that has an inherent shame. So if I actually took a look at myself, I couldn't handle it, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
all of these layers of uh, negative, shameful, you're bad, you don't belong, you're not accepted, you're not good enough, you're not worthy. All of this has been piled on top of us, and that's who ultimately is, oh, well, that must be who we are.
Right.
It's not even one iota. It's just the stuff that's been piled on top of us. And when you take those off, when you unpeel what that looks like, when you get down to the very core nugget of who you actually are, you are this indescribable, I'm gonna cry,
Yeah.
indescribable being of love. And there's nothing wrong with you.
You're probably listening to this while you're driving, so let me ask you, how's your back feeling right now? Yeah, exactly. If your body's been trying to get your attention, just go check out the focus programs at capitalhealth.com. These are built around real things like low back pain, tight shoulders, stiffness, mobility, getting your body moving the way it's supposed to again. We've got programs for during pregnancy called Rock the Baby, after pregnancy called MilFit, and for the boys, yeah, we've got you, Beefcake. Plus, programs for those flabtastic areas that like to show up uninvited and the legs for day goals. There are over 20 programs in there. Use the code TheCapitalLife at checkout and take $15 off each and every one that you grab. So if your body's been dropping hints or straight up complaining, you know where to go. CapitalHealth.com. Achieve your ideal health where health meets alignment.
And, my wish in the world is that we all walk around interacting as this immense being of love,
Right.
right? Without any of the shame. And I was trying to decipher, I like to be a little analytical. So I was like trying to deep dive. Okay, where is the core piece of shame? And I honestly think it's the moment of birth.
Mm-hmm.
It's the moment where our spirit realizes we are now separated, right? Which is this piece of that somehow I'm not a part anymore, right?
And you're
Like,
alone. So much of shame, so much of the shame, not only, you could talk about all the different societal norms, expectations, what was bestowed upon us from the beginning, but it's also the reaction. Like sometimes we don't even think about the reactions. What happens when we actually get birthed into the world? We get completely exposed, right? We're completely exposed to the world of a whole bunch of people that we don't even know, right?
it's
We just
scary.
went through this like tunnel of like this, oh, let's go through this tiny little pool that like somehow is supposed to bring us to the light. And then afterwards, it's like after we're born, not only do we get separation as if like we've done something wrong, like, but also the connection between like mother and child sometimes is not immediate for all of us. And
Yeah,
then on
and
top,
our mother is screaming
right,
as coming
exactly. Or
pain.
crying hysterically. But also the other thing too is like, think about mothers for the first time. Mothers for the first time, you just had a freaking kid. Like one of my favorite lines from Friends is like, there's a like there's like, like, right? Like this, all of a sudden there's a giraffe in the room. And there is this like, there's a fear of first time parents like holding their kid for the first time because it's so precious and they don't want to fuck up, that they literally hold their child, but the half their feeling is joy, quarter, actually it's like a third of it's joy, a third of it is what the fuck am I going to do now, and then the other third is, oh shit, now what happens? Like, so there's
Yeah,
all these crazy mixed emotions within that moment. And even like, I noticed after each birth, I got better and better, like, because my confidence was there. I was like, all right, game on, let's do this. And if you look at that, like, even the children, like my kids are, I don't want to say better because each one of them are pretty freaking awesome. So, like, I don't want to say that they're better, but it's like the easement in my parenting as I went on, you could see that reflection that certain things weren't an issue for my kids because I had already not only done healing from my past within that duration, but also how I showed up as a mother is different because I grew within my motherhood and my confidence. But like there is so much of that, the separation of the child from their mother, the energy that's surrounding them, right? Because like it's like when the doctors pull, like, hey, you come out, here's this baby, you come out into the world, the doctor's grabbing you and then shuttling you off to a nurse, and they're like making you do all these things that you're like, ah, like whatever, because they're cleaning you off and doing the things, and you're like, oh, why are you touching me? I was so warm before, what's going on? And then you're just sitting there and you're just we underestimate how many emotions we've gone through as an itty bitty that profoundly affects how we react to things. My daughter, for years, it didn't matter if we went to a doctor's appointment, sick, wellness check, regular checkup, it doesn't matter. When we went, any procedure that had to be done, as long as you explained it, there were no fucking problems. But one time I had to jump in at nurses and was like, take your hands off my child right now. Give me 5 minutes. Like, you can stand over there in the corner while I talk to her. This does not have to be a traumatic thing, and I'm not going to allow you to overrule. And they just looked at me like, oh shit. I sat down, I explained what was happening, why it was happening, and what I needed from her so she could be safe in the process. Now, what was it? I think she had stuck gum in her ear, and they thought she had tubes in her ear, and they're like, does she have tubes in her ears? Like, no, we've never had tubes. They're like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty fucking sure she doesn't have tubes in her ears. And they're like, well, there's something in there. I'm like, well, then tell me what that is, because I don't know what it is. And then as we started talking, then we found out she had stuck gum in her ear. And then we had to lay her down, but they wanted to like pin her down. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And then as soon as I did that, she's like literally held still, so still. And she was probably like 2 or 3 years old at the time. Like she was a young kid, but she and she was terrified, but she trusted my words. She trusted who I was, and she knew, and I just would keep being there to support her through the whole process. And then it was fine. It was not an issue whatsoever.
Yeah, it's really important. when we go through events in our lives, we make meaning about it. And that includes when we're very small children, right? And we either pick up on the energy of what's happening and we don't understand it, so we make sense of it in our very limited cognitive ability, right? And
Because we have to make logic of what's happening in order for it to be
right,
able to live through or make it
and
bearable, I guess.
right. And so you gave your daughter meaning and context, right? And if you didn't have that, that event could have been a traumatic event, and she would have made her own meaning and context, which could have looked like something like, if you go to see health people, they're just going to want to pin you down and hurt you, right? And then whatever we lock in as that meaning, that becomes our unconscious programming now that we just run on.
Right.
And it gets proven over and over and over again, because we are now expecting that to be the case. And so part of the work is change the meaning, right? So that's why if we can be, oh my God, parenting is the hardest job ever. But the more conscious, and I don't want to give another thing on to parents, but the more
let's just blow the lid off of it and talk all the real shits.
But the more conscious we can be as parents to help our kids create that, help them understand that from a high level of consciousness, the better. I personally didn't get that from my parents.
Yeah, I did not either. I found a really random new tidbit of discovery. I haven't even gotten to tell my fun equine therapist yet, but that'll be a fun one next week. But yeah, I mean, so a little bit of my past of my parents and my mom with bipolar and having to be in the hospital and different things. So she had to go in the hospital when me and my sister, one stint after each of us were born. Hormone fluctuation, bipolar, just traumatic, anything that goes through something major, surgeries, deaths, anniversary, like just major milestone events of life can be just rocketeering, to say the least. But the one thing that was really interesting is as we are unraveling more open dialogue with our kids, we've been doing it for years. I've been doing it more and more frequently, especially like even with my husband going through a lot of his healing with his PTSD. He's opening up more, which is allowing the kids to speak and ask more questions. And so with this has been tremendous healing within our family, which is incredible, even to the point where I'm addressing things that I don't know if I would have ever had he not been able to move and shift and upgrade even further. So it's like we're all ascending together and it's awesome. But within that, my mom this week, like in our Christmas Eve dinner, like proceeds to tell me, like somehow it came out that she wasn't just in the hospital, like the two times from which, like one of them from which I knew, she was actually in the hospital almost every 2 years in my informative years. Why do you think I have self-worth issues? Why do you think I have abandonment and loneliness issues? Like a lot of times people don't know those things about me, but as soon as I heard that, and it was only because she was courageous enough to talk about it with her granddaughter, which how awesome is that my kid was able to get more information about my past that like I didn't even know about. And then she's like, "Hey mom, did you just hear what she said?" And I'm like, "I'm sorry, what?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh," because from what I knew of a lot of my story, or at least my beginning of my story, I didn't realize there was so much more of that disconnection. And one of those things that I have made me really a focused mother is because I didn't have a very strong like maternal role in my life. And I almost had to become it myself. And so it was like, you self-analyze, okay, what does a mother look like to you? Those are your individual expectations. And a lot of times we create what we think a mother to be because of the things that either we didn't like about our upbringing or how we would like to change and modify it, or what we've seen other people do, and we adapt that and create it. And the fact is that our kids are going to look back at that. It doesn't matter how perfect of a job that you've done. They're going to look back at that. And guess what? They're going to analyze, and there's going to be criticisms, and there's going to be changes. And then because they're figuring out what a mother means to them.
Yeah. And I always say, it doesn't matter how good a parent you are, your kid's still going to need therapy for that precise reason, right? And
all of us do. We're a constant work in progress.
A work in progress. Thank gosh for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I lost my thought, and it will come back to me.
It will.
Which it was about parenting. And well, first of all, we all do the best we can with what we have. Oh, here's the thing.
I was fishing for it. Did you see me reeling it in?
Don't make me laugh. Now I forgot. Oh, we are parenting, and I think that as long as one of the things to keep in mind, not as long, just not this one, but one of the things to keep in mind is we want our children to surpass us emotionally, intellectually, socially, spiritually, all the ways. This is how we're evolving the human species. So please take from me, I did the best I can, and please do better, right? Please take it to the next level, whatever that is. I mean, that's our job. Our job is to raise the next level. We're not the highest level. Please, we're getting the next one. And they're coming in already at a higher level sometimes. Anyone who's trying to do math right now. Yeah. I can't do my kids' math.
No way. I don't even want to. It makes my brain hurt.
Oh, right.
No.
And they're coming in at a different energetic level. They're thankfully, hopefully, we created, we paved the way that we're not, we went through the struggle so that they could come in at their higher vibration without struggling, and
or as much as we had to, there's more, because they're still going to have their struggles and their challenges, but it's like it's their journey, and their journey is to be an evolved journey from which they were descended from, right? Especially since I'll always love the philosophy of them choosing us to be their parents and their guides. And that to me is a comfort, because it's like, okay, it's not about doing things perfectly. Mm-hmm. It's about shaping them into their next evolved version of who they want to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you have to remember that you are the perfect parent for whatever journey that is for them.
Right.
Right. And their journey, this is my lived experience, their journey may not be the journey that you were hoping for them.
Right.
Or wanting for them, or parented them for. They're on their own journey, and letting them have that journey with support is the best that we can possibly do. Right.
And I always like to pay attention to, it's like, okay, here you did the job that you could, your kid, and the goal was for them to be better, like mentally, like all of the things, like you want them to be happier, better experiences, all those gifts that we can give them, as much as we can give them, no matter if they're big or small. But at the same time, then when you see how good they have it, don't let your ego take over. And one, be jealous.
I'm the reason.
One, don't steal it. Don't make it about you.
It's your journey if you're effing up. It's my journey.
I'm succeeding.
You ever notice how we spend all this time listening, learning, growing, and meanwhile your body's in the background like, okay, when is it my turn? That's where the focus programs at CapitalHealth.com come in. They're designed to support the real things your body is asking for, whether that's relief from pain, more mobility, or just feeling better moving throughout your day. There are over 20 programs to choose from, each focused on a specific need. And if you use the code TheCapitalLife, you'll get $15 off whichever one you choose. So if your body's been waiting, this might be a good place to start. CapitalHealth.com, where health meets alignment.
And it's so funny because like so many parents, like like their kids got it so much better. And it's like, yeah, it's like what you created. Like I told my husband, I think it was about maybe a month or two ago, there was a subject that we were talking about with our kids. And I told him, I said, look, I said, one of the hardest things that I had to break through was when I realized like how good my kids had it, or because they didn't have as much trauma, or they had certain things. Part of me was super envious because like they could be playing and just enjoying their kid time with the neighborhood kids. And then I would just be like, like a little.
And the worst is they come to you like they're like everything's really shitty, and you're like, okay, let me just tell you what shit is.
Oh yeah. My son, when my oldest, okay, he's right in that 17, 18, 19 phase, right? So he's like trying to be a man adult and figure out what that is, but like having his independence, but then like somehow when he becomes a man, he's like no longer connected, like somehow we stopped being his parents or something. Like he was going through that phase of trying to figure out, who was he as an individual and a man and whatever. And there was this one time he got so upset and he was mad, like mad, screaming, ranting, like whatever, the hormones, they got him. And he's sitting there and he's like, you don't know what things are like for me. You and dad are so abusive. And I just looked at him and I just started laughing in the middle of his very passionate, like, I'm standing up for myself. And then I just start laughing at him. I was like, abuse? Do you want to see abuse? Because like, I've got tons of references I can use. Yeah. I was like, dad's got even better ones, like at least because his was 10 times worse than mine. It's like, but if you want to see abuse, I can go there. And then he just looked at me, he was like, never mind. And then he like quit right away. And it's like, don't use that word with me. Like, don't even go there. But it was like this very big moment in where that really, like, I think it finally dawned on him, like, whoa, like, okay, I get it. Like I'm going through my hardship. He's going through his own struggle, like trying to figure out, navigate what that means to him. But then in that moment of dealing with those emotions, you have that realization of, oh, wait, okay, put on this hat. This hat doesn't fit me. I might need to take it off because I'm not the victim in this episode.
Right. Take responsibility for what's going down.
Right.
And I think what I have learned from my children is sometimes I would be dismissive to their truth and their reality and their experience by either saying, well, you don't have it as quite as bad. When I eat your food because there's starving kids.
Children in the world that have it better than you or whatever, which I've never liked that. My husband has done that for years.
And my parents, and that was in my growing up. Right?
Yeah.
So we, don't waste food and all these things. But in the genre of that is that you start to dismiss what's actually happening for them.
Right. And you're covering up their feelings as if their feelings aren't valid.
Right. And so my kids called me out on that. And they said, actually, Mom, I know that you want us to be empathetic because I would say, well, also this experience and this experience, I know you want us to be empathetic for other people in the world, but when you do that, that means that what is happening to me doesn't matter.
Right.
And I was like, oh, ding, 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 ding. And so now I was like, yeah. And now I own it. I'm like, yeah, I can see where that feels like that for you. I can see, where that, oh yeah, that sucks. Or yeah, those are things you're very struggling with, so that I can validate and empathize with them. And then guess what? They feel heard. Right. And then, if you want to round it back to the Karens, then all of a sudden it goes from this heightened emotional experience to this one.
Right.
Someone gets me. Someone really gets me.
Yeah.
And I think truly that's all we really want, all of us, is we just want to be got.
Yeah.
We just want to be seen. We just want to be heard. We want to be acknowledged. We want to be loved. and love not in romantic way, but just this acceptance of, I see you as this wonderful human being that you are, and I see that
Right.
you're struggling, and I see that you're needing this, right? Because we all have yearnings that are very deep, they're universal, right? We all want to be loved, all want to be accepted, we all want to be connected, we all want to belong, we all want to be worthy, we all want to be of service, we all want to have a purpose. Like, these are universal yearnings. We all want to be respected, right? And so if you actually just go drill right down into what are they yearning for right now,
And sometimes it's just being heard.
Exactly.
Yeah, like I mean, I have a tendency, like I'm an open book. I'm as transparent and authentic as you can pretty much get it, because I just am who I am, and I've worked really hard to get there. But I've also just never saw the point of covering up who you were, because who you are is pretty freaking awesome to begin with. So why would you like just not do that? Like, I just didn't, it was like, that's a lot of effort for no reason. Like, when you just end up going back to who you were supposed to be in the first place. But like, when I didn't realize, and my kids had to like, you know, kind of gang up on me together a little bit on, you know, I will be openly talking about life and who I am, and share, because my belief system is sharing our experiences also help get us through it. It creates that community and support that we need from other people. And then like, and it also helps us on our self-discovery. But what I didn't realize is that my kids haven't gotten to that place of being as open as I am. And so therefore I would also have to be like, now I have to be very mindful about what I do share. You know, like a lot of the stories that I share, some of the common everydayers. Well, now the kids will do that back to me, and I'll be like, oh, son of a bitch. Like, you know, like the time I got home from one of my 9-month checks when I was pregnant, and my husband, like, I sneezed and laughed at the same time and pissed all over the fucking driveway. Like, and it just soiled myself. Like, you know, and then, but like my kids will just be like, yeah, remember when you peed on the driveway, mom? Like, but like with no context of the pregnancy or like the excusable reasons. It's just, mom's just a regular urinator. Just let her do her thing. But it was one of those things where we had to have those fun conversations. And like my son was actually my youngest was the one that was like, Mom, I don't know why you always talk about me all the time. And I'm like, because I'm proud. I'm a proud mother. I love what you are. Well, then I didn't realize that he struggles with the shame and embarrassment, and even having some, like, he's the funniest out of all of us. Well, then we're all laughing, but then he will internalize it as if we are laughing at him instead of laughing with him, or because of something that he did that was so magical. And so I had to start being aware of, okay, I can't always share every story that happens, no matter how entertaining it is, which is really hard for me because, you know, there's some really cool things. So instead I started writing them down.
Mm-hmm.
Started writing them down for my own private like collection of memory, but also possibly in the future for books, if there is an opportunity to where my son is open with me sharing some of those really profound moments, because I'm so proud of him at the way that he has taken the lessons of his life. Even at the age of 8, he can identify where he is, even if feelings are hard for him to figure out, because he will, he's a reactor. Really, he's a very immediate reactor, but he's also such a sensitive soul that he feels a lot of it. And so we've talked through those feelings, but there's been one distinct time where he said to me, hey, Mom, when you say X, that hurts my feelings because it makes me feel like you want me to be perfect. Mm-hmm. This is a conversation that I had with my son when he was like 17, 18 years old, my oldest when he was 17, 18 years old, where my 8-year-old can now verbalize that to me now. So mm-hmm. Instead of having it be this whole feeling that he lives with for the next 10, 15 years, and then maybe even then some, because a lot of us feel that way into our 40s and 50s and can't confront our parents about it. Instead, I immediately got to ask my son, what makes you feel that way? Like, what is it specifically that goes on in your head that makes you think, like, have my viewpoint? And then we immediately went into, well, actually, mommy doesn't believe in perfection because I think we all are exactly who we need to be. There is no right or wrong in who we are. It's about, like, sharing and all of these different things. And so we went into a whole conversation on, uniqueness, how we're all different, how we're supposed to be different. And then I went into more of the fact of, okay, what made you feel like you weren't living up to my expectation, or what was it that was hurting you in that? And then we unraveled that portion of it. So there was, like, it went into 2-3 different subjects, because it really does. It hits like two to five different categories of where they can take it, but it is all about the meaning to which they give it, the story to which they're living by, and what they're choosing to still carry with them, regardless of it puts them in victimization or any of the other.
So another way to think about it is, what are they interpreting? What are they perceiving?
Mm-hmm.
What am I interpreting right now?
Right.
What am I perceiving? Right. So if I want to stick to the facts of what I'm perceiving, then how am I interpreting what I'm perceiving? And then when I've interpreted, I've now made meaning about it. And I've created a story around that now. Right.
Yeah.
So that becomes my truth. It's not truth. This is something that I've taken on about what I'm sensing or perceiving. So that's, and I heard you say it 3 times, and I say it too, and I have to catch myself. And I just want to announce to the world that I think the most insidious language thing in our language is, like, you make me feel. Right? We just say it. You made me feel. Really?
How did I make you? Well, and that's where it goes into, like, and that's where like my youngest and we ended up having a really great conversation about intention and assumption. And so we had, like, at the age of 8, he's understanding the concept of what you perceive to be true, what you're assuming in this conversation. There have been a couple times where he reacted a certain way because he jumped ahead. So I have to remind him, hey, buddy, let's not jump ahead. Because when we jump ahead, that's where you're showing up into what you're assuming is going to happen instead of what's happening right now. And so, like, and he will actually have to, like, stop himself sometimes, because it's either the fear or the, like, this is going to happen and I'm upset because I don't want that to happen because I want to keep playing or whatever. And then it's like he jumps into this world ahead of himself, and then he can't get himself back to normal. And it's like, no. We're going to stay focused. Like, what 5 things you can see? What are 4 things you can hear? Let's bring you back to present moment, and then have a conversation around that. But it happens with all of us. Like, it is the you made me feel.
Yeah.
Like,
and like, what's that? That's a total blame, right?
Yeah.
It's a total blame. And we just talked about this at the beginning of the episode. You make me feel gives all of the locus of control to the other person for making you feel that way. Right. You felt it. You felt it because you have attached it. So this is also what I believe about feelings and emotions. Feelings we can just feel, and you can go from extremely angry to sobbing to laughing hysterical in like 30 seconds. It's a feeling. Absolutely. You let it move through you. Where it becomes an emotion is that feeling gets attached to a meaning or a thought or a story, right? So it attaches itself, and then it doesn't move through you. Now it's attached with this thing. So you make me feel as I am angry because what the meaning I'm making about is that I have to be perfect and I'll never do that. And so I'm really angry at you for forcing me to do that. Mm-hmm. So now anger, you've made me feel that way, but you haven't. It's because you've attached this feeling of anger that you've been experiencing to this thought process that you've had. And now they're intertwined.
And if you can unravel that emotional entanglement to that process, then a lot of times you can end up functioning much more differently and show up differently, which sometimes after doing that healing process, it's amazing on how people don't recognize you because you're showing up differently. Your vibration changed. And then even like your delivery, the ripple effect, it's unrecognizable. And then sometimes that will trigger other people, because then you just change the game. You change the narrative. And they're like, wait a second, this was reliable. I'm so used to you always acting this way after I say this. And instead now you're not reacting at all. Now what do I do? Like,
I'm going to up the ante to bring you back in. That's what
I'm going to loop you back before you end. You're not allowed to change.
Yeah.
Even though we are constant, like cells in constant evolution and evolvement and change, in the way that we've bought on thinking that change is bad when we're in a constant state of change is hilarious.
Yeah, change is actually the only constant.
Right. Exactly. But no, don't do it. Okay. Well, I think it's time for us to wrap up. Before we wrap up, one, I need my listeners to, I have words. They're there. Hold on. Give me 1 second. One, thank you. My brain. Oh. Okay. How can people find you? Like, where can they stalk you at?
Oh my goodness. Well, my website is karlalang.com. So that's Karla with a K, karlalang.com. They can find me there. Yeah.
And then you kind of opened up a little bit about like, if there's a secret that you can tell people that people do not know about the infamous Karla.
Oh, about me?
Yeah. It could be anything. It could be something you do, a talent, a hidden talent, some random thing that not a lot of people know about you.
So I am a trained marriage and family therapist and sex therapist, and I've been doing that for a long time. And parallelly, I have been definitely, I don't know if that's actually the word for the full 25 years, but living in an alternative, spiritual, connected reality. So that a lot of people don't always know. And it's been fantastic. And I haven't really come out of the closet with that, because
we are now.
But I am now because of the
which is why we're friends.
Right? So that a lot of people don't know about me, that I have an intuitive ability, that I can do various alternative healings that I have just been taught and learned on my own. And that's part of what has kept me thriving and going and moving and evolving. So I would never give it up. And in fact, sometimes I like put it on the back burner, and it's like, hello, over here, come back. So
come back to me.
Come back to me.
I have to sometimes I have to have some physical days to regroup, because sometimes I will be in the play world and like for so long that it's like I'm not back in my body, and then I have moments I have to bring myself back into my body, but then I have to be like, no, you have to go into the corner. Don't say a thing. like at least 3 days. And yeah, but it's interesting, because I think in our line of work, it's like there's a level of exposure when somebody I sometimes will say something and people might just find it, oh my gosh, that's so interesting. My uncle used to call me that, or like it pops out sometimes without, just because it's when we're naturally doing it, it's just part of who we are. But then it's like I've noticed that clients over the time almost like exposed me before me being ready to expose myself. But at the same time, I felt like that came along at the time where the universe was really pushing me in that direction. And I can be kind of resistant and stubborn when it comes to those moves. So sometimes I do have to be like, oh, this is happening. Oh, fuck. like I guess we're doing this now. Yeah. But I totally respect that. That's a really good secret, because a lot of times, you don't normally hear of therapists actually owning up to their intuition. And it's such a huge part of the healing process.
Yeah.
And it makes a difference because you're not one of those therapists that are like, yeah, okay, see you again next week. Like all the time. You're like, no, let's get shit done.
Let's
yeah.
transform things. Let's get you in a completely different way. And yeah, I use a lot. I'm always in constant communication with a higher power, higher self, especially if I, before I go into any session or before I do anything, I'll say, come through me to give me the information I need for their highest healing.
Right. We have a similar anchoring system before I work with people too. And just surrendering myself to what's needed to be given.
Yeah. And I've been doing it for so long that I just operate like that now. So sometimes I'll be like talking to a person, I'll just random, and I will be like, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Right.
Just because you have to. And it's harder for me, like, to not listen to, like, when I was a kid, it would just come at me. And so then I would listen to it, and I wasn't wrong, but some people were not in the place to receive or to fully understand what was being delivered, where a good percentage of them, like 2/3 of the people that I went up to, actually were like, oh my God, thank you for that. Like, it wasn't like, even though it caught them off guard. And then I would have a couple of family members to be like, you can't talk to people that way, or you can't do whatever. And so that really started silencing a lot. It's shutting down a lot of my abilities, because like at first I was like, well, why did I not feel disconnected? I felt like everything was fine. Like, and the delivery and exchange was perfectly pure and delightful, but there was other issues at play where it was like, oh, I was at the age where I shouldn't be talking to an adult at that level. Blow me. Like, that's just stupid. Like, so like, I very much will work with my kids on, okay, you might have these messaging, then you need to evaluate like delivery or who it's going to, or if it's necessary for it to go there, journal, like figure out where it's going from. But at the same time, I in no way, shape, question how they go from there, especially with my daughter.
Or you just say what you say, how they take it is theirs.
Because it has to do with their processing. And there are sometimes where I'm full-fledged no, like I've had, a client, the client that comes in that one time when really you had to be the jugular, like to say something and it freaked them the fuck out, and then you don't see them again, and that's fine because you knew they had to hear it. And you're like, sorry, I was told yes. Like, here's the bomb. Like, my bad.
Well, one of the things I'm very excited about to embrace this for me is I'm offering, I'm calling them intuitive love readings.
Nice.
Intuitive relationship readings. So you get full on Karla activated for half an hour, and we'll see what comes out, which is not therapy. It's
more channeling and energetic reads.
And here you go. And then you can sit back and forth. You can ask questions, and we'll figure out what we can do.
I love that.
Okay.
Do you have like a message for everybody before we like send you away? I want you to like kind of put in your Karla and drum roll go.
My message would be that you are more than you think you are.
That's a good one. Are you going to cry now?
No. You're more than you think you are, and allow yourself to come into your full being.
That's going to be a really good one for us for 2025.
Yeah.
So 2025 is going to bring a lot of that. And I'm super excited to see all that comes with that, and the ups and downs and the purification and the things of completion.
So allow yourself to go through the process to be all of who you can be, because it is time. You are here specifically in this moment in time in order to do this. This is why you're here. This is all part of your journey. And the more you can tap into all of who you are, the wholeness of who you are, and living fully as the wholeness of who you are, which might mean a process of getting rid of all the stuff that's holding you back from that, including people and things and da 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 da. But if you can allow yourself to move into being fully who you are, whatever that's going to take, you are going to rock it. And we as a collective, woo, here I'm going to cry. We as a collective are going to rock it out of here. Yeah.
Love that. Thank you, Miss Karla.
Not literally
it's always a pleasure.
I'm just saying. I just realized, because I'm like, we're all going to get in a rocket ship off here. No. We're going to just going to go to the next level. I can just imagine conspiracy theorists. It's hard to get in the rocket ship, wait for the rocket ship to come. No.
You never know what the attention's always everywhere these days. You just never know. I can't even keep up with it all.
To a higher level of being there as a collective.
Oh my God. Well, and then, we'll turn into like one of those cult groups. It's trying to collect people on rocket ships now.
No. I deep dove into cults all last year. So like the psychology.
Must have been some very entertaining history there.
And the psychology of cults and why. So this is why I came to my, oh shit, no, we're not.
Please don't misinterpret. And that's the thing. You know what? One of the things I've always noticed in doing this podcast is that it's the people that are meant to hear what needs to be heard that hear it, and the ones that don't and that are not ready to. And you know what? If that means that like there's slower growth in my expansion, like that's fine. Because the point is that I don't want, it's not that I don't want people to be enlightened. I want people to be enlightened, but I want them to be able to put use to what they're hearing instead of like having it come in and then switching into this diluted notion that makes them just live it like not. I want them to get authentically them, and I want them to be able to experience that discovery, because the fact is, until the day we die, and even after that, we're still learning about ourselves with each life experience. Yes.
We're still evolving. It's evolutionary. There's still more and more and more to discover. There's still more and more to experience, and no two spirits have the same journey, the same experience, the same anything. So it's the most important to live as you are here to live for your experience in your connection to spirit, for who you are to be on the planet.
Exactly. And this lifetime is going to affect the next lifetime and so on and so forth. And it's like every time. And it's fantastic. It's not just within our generations. It's also within our life experiences. It's also with our soul purpose. So it's just, we're energetic beings that are always evolving and emerging. All right. Well, thanks for being on the show. I'm going to like put you in the backstage and close up and bring you back, and we'll probably giggle some more
everyone.
Afterwards.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining me today on The Capital Life, where we talk about all the things that life brings. Join me next Saturday for a show that I can't remember the name of. I think it's called Try New Things or Try Something, but we're going to try it, and it's going to be fantastic. Have a fabulous day, guys. Love ya.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us on YouTube and Facebook at Capital Health. That's Kapitol Health. Please share with your friends and family. The Capital Life is available on all podcasting platforms except Pandora. Our goal at The Capital Life is to provide a safe place to get information when it comes to your health and wellness, especially when dealing with all of life's phases. Remember to take care of yourself, because you're somebody's everything.